took time to learn the business. I think that's an important piece for be a business owner, you know, despite the trial and error, some of the things that you did specifically to learn to be a good business owner.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it came through trial and error. So, there.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the first ever online, remote interview for C&V Productions. My name is Cecil Austin. I'm the owner of C&H Insurance and co-host of C&V Productions.
And I'm Victor Moran, co-host of C&V Productions. Welcome to another episode of C&V Productions Presents. And today we present Sincere Delgado. Sincere, welcome to the show. For those that don't know you, who are you and what business are you in?
Yes, sir. Well, first I want to say thank you for having me here. I've communicated with Cecil beforehand to set everything up, and I appreciate you guys having me on. But yes, my name is Sincere Delgado. I'm the owner and founder, the founder and owner of PhlebStick Mobile LLC. It's a specimen collection company that started back in August of 2021. It started off locally, just providing services here in Connecticut that was able to expand throughout the New England area. And then primarily what we do is provide services like mobile phlebotomy. We also have an office in Bristol, Connecticut, 291 Queen Street, where we also provide drug screening. And those are primarily our services that generates the most revenue for the company. And not only that, we provide services for private clients, but also for assisted living and the skilled nursing home facilities as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So Sincere, why don't you tell us a little bit, because let's take it back a little bit. This is not a normal business that you hear a lot of people getting into, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what drove you to this line of business?
Yes, sir. So what made me want to get into this business was that initially I started my career in healthcare about approximately like 10 years ago. And I was a certified nurse's aide at that time. And I had a desire to become a registered nurse and to get like my bachelor's, my BSN in nursing. But due to certain circumstances that took place from the time that when I was trying to pursue it, it just didn't happen. But I know that ultimately the goal was for me to become an entrepreneur. And because my background was already in healthcare, I started asking myself, what are some of the services that's needed? And that's when I started doing my research about mobile phlebotomy. And so I said, hey, I want to give this a shot. So, I got my certification in 2019. I started working for different companies like Trident Care, Quest Diagnostics. Then from Quest, I went to Hartford Hospital. From Hartford Hospital, I went to UConn to work for the state. And then with all of the combined experience that I was able to acquire for working these jobs, I was able to put that to use when I went independent. So.
Yeah, that's great, Sincere. A quick question before we move on. Phlebotomy, for those that don't know, what is it?
Phlebotomy, the most simplest term I could put it in is just the extraction of the blood that comes from the needle through the vein. So that's basically what phlebotomy is in simple terms.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah. Same here. I'm like, it sounds interesting. It sounds great. I'm like, that's science talk right there. What is that? I need to understand. But what I guess, phlebotomy, again, Cecil said it, right? You don't really hear this stuff. And I guess what problem were you trying to solve? What got you into phlebotomy?
Well, it was just the information that was put out there. I don't have the exact source listed from the top of my head, but there was just a report that was put out that I've seen where our state is actually predominantly like elderly. I would say over the age of 65 years or
He's
older.
talking about us, Cecil, just so you know.
You talking about you, Vic. That's not me, bro. I got some years in me still.
Sorry, Sincere, go ahead.
So just finding out the demographics of the state of Connecticut, where there were a huge population of elderly folks, and knowing that this population existed, I know that came with other complications where there were just people who couldn't leave their homes, or even for people who may not be elderly and, they're at their place of business and they're constantly busy and they don't have the time to go to the laboratory to get their blood drawn, because when you walk into places like LabCorp and Quest, there's a waiting time. Sometimes it's not even patients are not even being served on a first come, first served basis. Is by appointment, so you can get there before somebody else. Because they scheduled an appointment the day before, you're sitting waiting there for 30, 45 minutes, and somebody who just walked in just walk right past you and get. So just for the convenience, and also because of the demographics of an older population, I wanted to get in and just solve that problem of people who couldn't leave their homes or just too busy to go to the lab.
Yeah, that's interesting, because based on what you just said, you identified a need, and that sort of dictated your role, the business that you were moving to, and that's a smart way to play it. I mean, a lot of small business owners get into a situation where they think that there's a need for their services, and then come to find out that maybe there wasn't, right? There really wasn't that need there, and then ends up closing down the line. So it's real smart that you took an opportunity to see what the landscape looked like, and then built a business around that. That's a smart move.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Sincere, when you're doing this type of business, you're getting very intimate with people, right? People don't think about like, oh, you're taking blood, but it's a very intimate experience, meaning you're getting very close, right? You're touching people. They have to trust you, right? They have to feel comfortable that you know what you're doing. I guess, what have you learned about building relationships with your clients, and creating like that strong reputation for people to trust that you know what you're doing?
It's funny because being a certified nursing assistant, like throughout my past years working in healthcare. Oh my gosh, I'm a rookie in the background. But it was a little intimidating at first when I started the business, because it's different working for a company in Trident Care, because Trident Care was the job where I actually had to go to different nursing homes and draw blood from the elderly, but it wasn't in their homes. When I started going to people's homes as an independent phlebotomist, it was a little bit more intimidating, only because that you wanted to make sure that you were doing your job correctly. You wanted to make sure that your patient feels comfortable. So it took some time for me to adapt to that aspect of the business of patient care. So eventually I was able to figure out a routine of how to make my patients feel more comfortable. One of the first things that I do, that's if we already spoken on the phone, I tell them about the service, how much it's going to cost. I make sure I give that friendly customer service. But once the appointment actually comes, and I call them and let them know that I'm in the driveway, so they know that I'm here. When they open the door, I make sure I smile. I say, hello, how you doing? Good morning. And I always say this. I say, listen, do you want me to take off my shoes before I come in the house?
Right.
And that gives them a sense of comfort of knowing that somebody is going to take off their shoes is like a sign of respect. So that's how I kind of break the ice before I provide the service. They say yes or no, and I come in. I make sure I introduce myself. I explain the procedure to them. I lay out all my supplies, and I just after the service is completed, I let them know the next steps of what's going to happen once I leave their home. I usually say, hey, this test right here, I'm going to drop it off at this location, whether it's Quest, LabCorp, FedEx. Once I drop it off there, I'm going to provide you with the details of where it was dropped off, the address, the name of the technician, and the time. And they appreciate stuff like that, And before I leave, I give them my business card, and then I'm on my way. It's a breeze. But in the beginning, it was a little intimidating. So I was able to figure it out though.
Yeah, I could imagine. Now, with this type of business, what are some of the struggles that you're facing? Are you seeing a lot of issues that you can talk to, that maybe you can sort of warn someone that's getting not only into this business but any other business, so that you can sort of bring up these concepts and say, listen, these are some of the things that happen to me. This is some of the things I would recommend to others to watch out for.
Yes. So as far as the struggles of the business, of course, I can only really speak for myself, but I would say it's just knowing the business
Right.
is like the struggle, because the actual profession, knowing how to draw blood or perform phlebotomy, that was the easy part, because
Right.
that's something I was already doing. But actually making that transition of becoming an employee into a business owner, you definitely have to know exactly how you're going to make money, where you're going to get your customers from. You have to know about contracts. You have to know about taxes. It was more about the business that gave me like the most struggle, not the actual profession. It
Right.
wasn't the patient care. It wasn't the customer service. It wasn't the performance. It was the actual business. But of course, through trial and error, um, I made some mistakes,
Yeah.
as pretty sure a lot of business people do in the beginning
Yeah.
when they get a new business. But it's all about education, educating yourself, application, putting it to use. And I'm in a much better space now because I decided to educate myself about the business.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Sincere, you mentioned getting customers in the phlebotomy business. Like, what has been the best thing that you've done to gain customers?
what has been the best thing I've done to gain customers? Um, to be honest, I've most of my patients that I was able to get has been through referrals,
Mm-hmm.
the word of mouth. So, once I meet with a patient and I provide a good service, they compliment me. They say, "Hey, this is a great service. This is a new service. I haven't heard of it before. I haven't heard of it. But on top of that, you were very professional. You did what you were supposed to do, and they made the suggestion that they would, spread the word. Spread the word. They would talk to their doctor. They would tell their friends about who I am and the services I provide. And on top of that, I gave each and every single patient a business card before I left. So, I think that's that. It was a simple formula, but it works. You know what I mean? Of course,
Yeah.
I've spent money on Google ads, social media ads like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube ads. But most of my customer base came from word of mouth and patient referrals.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great.
that's the best way to build a business, right there, is referrals.
Yep.
Yes.
It's unfortunate though. We do look at, marketing is such a key part of the business process, but it is one of the most costly. So if you can avoid that cost by, just being good to your customers and having them refer you, it's no out of pocket cost. It's just no cost of being nice and being somebody likes, right? So it's always the best way to build, no out of pocket expense. You're already there. Be nice, be good to your client. And then hopefully they, send your name out there, and then you grow with them.
That's all you really can do.
Yeah.
I always told myself, hey, listen, because I know how to perform phlebotomy. One thing, and I tell this to my other phlebs that work for me, I don't have to tell you how to do your job because you already know how to do your job. But the only
Right.
thing that I emphasize on is just good customer service, professionalism, and compassion, because that's something that you cannot teach. So if you give that as well, besides the profession, then you'll be in a pretty good space, and this was worked for me. It's always worked for me.
Yeah.
What do you find your customers appreciate the most? I know you're talking about customer service and providing great customer service, but what do you find customers appreciate the most, right? What is it that you're doing that you think is giving you the upper hand?
I would say my level of compassion for them. They appreciate compassion more than anything. Of course, they appreciate you doing a good job and knowing what you're doing, because you got to make sure
Not hurting them, right? Not hurting them is a good
one. Making sure you got the right tests and doing the job properly. Of course, they appreciate that because that's what they paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, besides that, it's just the compassion level to know that they're being heard. There's been plenty of times where patients were they show their the vulnerable side, and they explain what they were going through health wise, and the fact that I was attentive to them, and I listened to them, and was responsive to them. They really appreciate that. And
you just reminded me because I had my blood drawn quite a bit just because I've had some health issues in the past, but I do remember like some people being cold, and I'm like, man, they're like just really cold. You try to talk and small talk, and it's like they're just not there. So I can.
The lights are on, but nobody's home, right?
Right.
Exactly. So and like you said, right, you're like when you're getting your blood drawn, if it's just a regular physical, it's not a big deal. But if you're getting your blood drawn because you have potential issues, you're vulnerable, like you said, right? And so you want someone to be able to sort of reciprocate and kind of, be compassionate. Hear me out here. I just want to talk. So I totally understand that. You also, you mentioned, I guess the RN piece or the phlebotomy piece, like learning how to draw blood being easy, but, and people see like the end result. They're seeing they're seeing, how to do it. But I mean, tell people like what kind of what type of process or effort is required to kind of, when you went to school, you got training, obviously, like what does that process look like? How long is it? Is it something that people can do quickly, or is it something that takes a long time to master?
It's something that people could do quickly, depending on what program you go to. The duration of the course can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to 6 months. A lot of people feel like they can start this business because it's a quick certification. Like I said, depending on what program you go to, but compared to like a 2-year or 4-year degree, a couple of weeks to 6 months, is nothing. But the thing is, I had a strategic plan going into this business. Even when I was working for the companies I was working for, with the free time I had, I was doing research about how I wanted to pursue the business. So I was kind of already ahead of the game, and I already had a plan that once I got my certification, I already knew that these are the companies I wanted to work for, because the experience of working for these jobs is going to help me later on once I start the business. And I've seen a lot of people that got their certification because they wanted to start the business, but they have no experience.
Right.
They don't have any. And again, like I said, I was already in healthcare for 10 years, even prior, before I got my phlebotomy certification. So I'm in these environments already.
Right.
And so I think that's what the misconception is, as far as like other people trying to get into the business. But like I said, I already had a strategic plan, and it worked out in my favor.
Nice. That's cool. So I want to take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you took, doing phlebotomy, drawing the blood, that wasn't the problem. That was never an issue. You took time to learn the business. I think that's an important piece for us to talk about. So what's some of the things that you did to learn the business part, how to be a business owner, despite the trial and error, some of the things that you did specifically to learn to be a good business owner?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it came through trial and error. So th- there there are times where I was approached with different offers. Well, I won't say one offer because it happened about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Where I'm just giving an example. I was on vacation. I was in Puerto Rico, just visiting family out there. And I'm on vacation, and I received a phone call from this assisted living agency. It was somebody I think who was a representative on their behalf, and who just told me that, hey, listen, we just got a major problem because one of our vendors, I guess, backed out of the deal or something to that nature.
Right.
And they wanted me to fill that void, and me being so, and this was, I mean, I could kind of say it was kind of my fault because I was just so excited.
Hmm.
But I told myself that, once I step my foot in, I'm gonna just let all the chips fall in place. I'm gonna just figure it out on the way there. Because
Right.
so what I told the guy was, I said, listen, I'm ready. Even though I was not ready. But I
Right.
was not ready. I was still on vacation, and they wanted to They wanted to get started quickly because
Hmm.
if you have a vendor that's performing phlebotomy services, blood work is really important. That's how
Yeah.
doctors make their diagnosis for medications and certain medical conditions. So if somebody's not performing phlebotomy services on a regular, especially when it comes to assisted living and skilled nursing home, that's a major problem.
Right.
So you know, I think I only had a couple of days left. I said, listen, if you guys can just give me just about a good month, even though they was trying to press me to get started sooner.
Hmm.
Just give me a good month, and I'll make sure I get everything set up and ready. And once I got back home, I I went buck wild, stupid, trying to scramble to get all the hire phlebotomists. I had to create the schedule as far as like and it was like 40 buildings. It
Oh,
was like
wow.
40. They wanted me to take over, but I guess I was so desperate, and so I took the assignment. I had to create the schedule for all these buildings for certain days. I had to hire X amount of phlebotomists, quite a few of them, and I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of trial and error because it was my business model was built upon the direct to consumer. It was
Right.
never intended to service skilled nursing home and assisted living. It developed into that. My business model was really simple. I tell the customer or patient what the service is. This is how much it costs. You pay for it or you don't. You
Right.
know, it was just opportunities that was coming my way that I said, okay, I want to evolve. I want to grow. I want to do something different. I want to see how it works out. And just without knowing exactly what that what part of that industry works, I just kind of like dove nose first
Right.
into that industry, and I was able to, you know, just figure it out. Just make my mistakes. I had people that quit on me the first day. I think I had like 2, 3 people quit on me the first day, but I
Hmm.
didn't stop me. I just kept on going. I kept hiring people, and once I found out the routes of where the facilities were and where my phlebotomists were and how am I going to schedule them to go to that place without burning them out and putting a whole bunch of mileage on their cars. I had
Right.
signed the phlebotomists where they were located in accordance to where the other facilities were in their area, so I had to make schedules for that. And knowing about payroll, and
Right.
had to know about what net 30 was,
Yeah.
submitting an invoice. And then once you submit the invoice, you get paid 30 days after you submit
Yeah.
the invoice.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I had to come up with a strategy of how I was going to get paid consistently. So I submitted my invoice every 2 weeks. So I was getting my check every 2 weeks because that's how I would submit the invoice is every 2 weeks. And knowing about contracts and language, paying lawyers, it was crazy. It was
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um, it was a really good experience with that specific deal. At this moment in time, I'm not currently servicing them because now that I know the business,
Hmm.
I know the flaws that were made, and there were certain things that I wish I would have took my time on to know about before diving nose first. But
Right.
that was being hard-headed and stubborn, just wanting to get my name out there, just wanting to
Right.
see if I can take advantage of the opportunity. But if I had to do it all over again, I think I would have took my time, just to know more about the business before I did that.
That's great. Well, it's a great story.
Well, it is. It
Yeah.
is. So Sincere, for those small businesses that are looking to scale, what would your advice be as far as you need to ask these questions and have these things ready? What would that be?
Oh man, get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. Know about contracts. There was a book that I purchased not too long ago. I forgot the name, but it's NBA something. I wish I had it in front of me right now, but it was just a book that talks about contracts and contract language and the definition of what certain words mean in contracts that allows you to read and educate yourself on. So knowing about contracts, getting a lawyer, knowing what certain, knowing about taxes.
Right.
All that stuff is important. It's just a business. You have to know what can be written off and what cannot be written off as far as taxes. Being organized, keeping log sheets, having the right certifications, knowing about business insurance. You got to make sure that your Phlebs have their insurance, and
In
if they
place.
don't
Yeah.
have the insurance, you have to put them underneath your insurance. You have to pay more money for that. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff that people have to research on. It's just the business. If you know how to draw the blood, that's fine. But if you don't know the business, that could put you in deep risk.
Yeah.
And how many? What did you call them? Phlebs? Phlebs? Your
Yeah,
employees?
it's just short for phlebotomist. I say
Phlebotomist. Got it. Got it. And how many? I guess how many at one? Like, what's the max number you had at one point? Max number of Phlebs.
Well, I could just say currently right now I have about 8 phlebotomists, but they're not all in Connecticut. They're spread all throughout New England.
Oh, great.
Um,
Okay.
because we service not only Connecticut but also New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire. They're all spread out
Oh wow.
to go to the patients where I can't go because they're too far. I
Right.
can go to the ones in Connecticut, and even with that, in the middle. I'm in the process of hiring more phlebotomists in Connecticut because with the new office, I'm trying to grow. Uh, I'm trying to grow there, and if I could, I'm trying to find a way where I could automate the system that I have going on now because everything really falls on me. I manage so much, and with this plan that I have to try to automate the business, I have to find a way to where I can have phlebotomists take care of the patients on the road while I take care of the office and all the administrative stuff. And then once the system is built, have it automated so where it can run it without me. Because if anything was to happen to me, God forbid, tomorrow, the whole business crumbles. And,
Right.
and that,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a very bad place to be in. I don't want that. So my main goal this year is to create a system where the business just runs without me. And
Right.
that's what I'm in the middle of now.
All right. Well, that's good. Now, I know we're coming up on time, but I wanted to ask this question because it it seems that in the growth of your business and really the growth of any business, getting the right people is important, and you have to hire phlebotomists that you trust that can do the job the right way. So what's your process? What are you actually doing to hire these people and make sure that they have the same mindset that you have for your business?
Yeah. So one of the first things that I do, hopefully it won't cut off, that the video won't cut off. It won't cut off, but it.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, okay, good. One of the first things that I do is find out where most of the patient incoming calls is coming from. I usually pay attention to if if patients are calling from a specific area. I find out how many patients are calling from a certain area,
Okay.
and um, once I monitor that, I say, I'm getting all the calls from this area, but there's not many calls in this area. So what I do once I go on Indeed and I hire my people, I usually look for experience.
Mm-hmm.
At the experience, then that makes things a little bit more easier.
Right.
And I just tell them, like, hey, listen, like I said, I can't tell you how to do your job because you already know the business, but just maintain professionalism and show compassion, and you'll always have work coming your way.
Right.
And so that's pretty much it. I just try to keep it simple in that way.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Most of the calls I get is from Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts. So those where most of the phlebotomists are located.
Yeah.
If there's sometimes I do get calls from Rhode Island and Vermont and these other places, but because I barely get calls from there, sometimes the phlebotomists that I've hired, they get a little impatient and say, "Hey, where's the work?" And I'm like,
Right.
"Hey, you gotta be a little patient. I'm working on it, but sometimes it comes when it comes. You can't really force phone calls to come. The only
Well,
thing
yeah.
the best thing you could do is just market in the area.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Let people know that you're there.
yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. I know in a lot of businesses like myself, even in the insurance business, finding the right people can be tough, right? Finding people that are going to represent your business the way you want them to. But I find that it also falls on the owner, right? To be able to let some of that go, to have some level of trust in individuals to do the job the right way. And it seems like you put a lot of trust in individuals to go out there and at least know their job and maybe just instruct them on what you like to do from a business perspective and how they deal with clients. Am I guessing that right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Because it's an interview. When you hire people, it's an interview. You look at their resume, you see that they're qualified, they have the certifications, they have the experience. It's just all a matter of, calling them, having a conversation with them, asking them why they got into phlebotomy, asking them what their future goals are, asking them
Right.
how do you handle this when this happens, and depending on the answers that they give you, that's how you determine whether or not the person is right for the job. So,
All right. Great. Well, Sincere, we're coming up on the end of the interview. So now I wanted to give you the opportunity to sort of tell everybody if you have anything going, how can people reach out to you? If you have any new events that you're bringing up that are coming up soon, please let people know.
Yes. Well, I'm located, as I said before, 291 Queen Street, Suite 101, Bristol, Connecticut. We just opened that location about 2 months now, and that collection site is being utilized for drug screens and donors who have to do pre-employment or do certain background checks. So whether they're in the trucking industry or do construction, and they have to do pre-employment for DOT, non-DOT drug screening. That's where we're located. Um, we service the whole New England area, so no matter where you are within the New England area, you can give us a call. We can schedule an appointment. We can do just about any lab tests. As long as we receive a lab order, we'll be able to research and find out what needs to be done, and we can provide the service. As far as any upcoming events, I'm working on it. I don't have anything currently, but it's I'm in the middle of establishing some things first and
All
getting
right.
certain stuff in a row. So, but other than that, yes.
All right. All right. Great. All right. So there's more to come. There's more to come.
That's
All
it.
right. Well, Vic, did you want to say anything to Sincere before we let him go?
No, just thank you so much, Sincere, for jumping on. Thank you for your time. I learned quite a bit. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see all the things that you have in the future.
Yeah. All right.
Yes, sir. And last thing, anybody that wants to follow me on social media is everything is under at PhlebStick. So at PhlebStick. On X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's where you can find me.
All right. Well, Sincere, thank you again for coming on. It was a great interview. I think we got a lot of great knowledge out of you. It was great to hear your story, learn a little bit more about your business. And, we'll have you on again, maybe in studio, talk a little bit more about see where the business is going in a few more months. And it was great to have you, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sincere.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.